want to talk about college admissions and what's going on because of COVID-19. It's having a big impact. So joining us now to discuss this is Bari Norman, who's an expert admissions co-founder. And I'm not even sure where to begin, whether it's on how do you do the SAT when you have everyone at home and they are talking about possibly doing that. So let's start there. Can you really have the SAT taken by people at home?
So this is a big question that both colleges and the College Board are asking at this time. The SAT has announced that it will have an e-SAT available in the fall. ACT has also announced plans for much of the same, but there are a lot of questions about equity as well as security when it comes to at-home exams.
I think Dan Roberts has a question for you on this issue because SAT is one part of admissions. Dan?
Yeah, guys, I was thinking here about athletics and how that affects things. And we know that a number of, high school athletes have missed out on their chance to add another season to their resume, so to speak, their application process. And Barry, I'm just wondering about that and maybe other examples of extracurriculars. I mean, what are kids saying? What are parents saying? Especially if, your big thing is you're a spring athlete and you're on varsity tennis and you were going to be recruited for tennis. Now you get robbed of maybe your final or penultimate season to beef up that college application.
Yeah, the issue of extracurricular activities actually impacts athletes in a very particular kind of way, but it really impacts all students. For spring athletes and for some of those winter athletes whose seasons were cut short, college coaches are also stuck at home, so be proactive, take tape from prior competition, or if you're able to get out and do some skill drills, do that and get those sent to coaches directly. They can't obviously come to camps and to games to come see you. And when it comes to extracurricular activities, just in general, you've got to start being creative and thinking outside of the box. Some activities are continuing on, just like our jobs in our school, but in a virtual format. I have a golfer who's doing golf practice with her team every day, even though the season has been canceled, but they're on Zoom. And you have clubs and publications that are still going on, but sometimes you're going to have to think about it from your own perspective. So start a blog. If you've been interested in starting a short story, this would be the time. Get involved in a political campaign, reach out to a local business and help them with social media. There's a lot of ideas out there.
Bari, let's look at the other side of admissions, the universities and the colleges. I would imagine they're going to be fewer on the other side of this pandemic than there were going into it. What are you hearing from the schools about their fear that fewer people may even apply?
This is a real issue. This is an unfortunate reality of this situation. So some colleges are probably not going to make it. Many colleges are tuition driven. We know that there will likely be fewer students showing up in the fall, and that's the big question for enrollment managers and university administrators. How many students are saying they'll come? And then beyond that, how many will actually show up in the fall? And we have seniors who are worrying about how they're going to pay for this, seniors worried about being further away from home. We've even seen some colleges reopen their applicant pools to people closer to their campuses. That we've not seen that before. This is uncharted waters, and we're seeing colleges react accordingly.
So, Bari, the last time that we spoke to you was in reaction to the college admissions scandal. And the reaction there was sort of, maybe we need to rethink how we do college. We have a big gulf between the haves and have-nots and who has the resources to really work the system and get in. It seems to me what's happening now is just a repetition of that idea. Whether you're talking about the colleges themselves, the ones with big endowments will survive, maybe the others will not, or individuals, to your point, there are concerns about people taking the SAT and ACT at home who don't have the same resources as wealthier kids. So how do we address this problem?
You're absolutely right. You've touched on a number of good points. So the college admissions process has sort of magnified inequities in our society pre-COVID. COVID has also magnified those issues. We see in the statistics in terms of the people who are most severely impacted by this terrible disease. It underscores the inequities. The college admissions process continues to do that. And so we have the issue of equity when it comes to students taking tests at home. We work with college community-based organizations where students are from underserved neighborhoods and underserved backgrounds, and we don't work with them online because they don't have access to laptops. They might have a phone, but it's really hard to write a college essay on your phone. It's hard to take an SAT on your phone or without broadband access. And so we're seeing more of this inequity magnified after COVID. And so one silver lining perhaps that may come from this is that colleges may rethink their process. We have had a holistic process at most colleges and universities pre-COVID, but it didn't take care of all of the issues that you're referring to. The hope is that maybe colleges will be able to re-examine their processes, if only because they were forced to. We've seen so many colleges go test optional in the last few weeks that we would have never thought would go test optional. And so things that would have maybe taken 10 years took less than 10 days. And so there's hope there.
You could argue, though, that some universities have been a lot more proactive in that reexamination. And I know even prior to the coronavirus, those universities who were suffering from a revenue fall because there were fewer students coming in had push for partnerships with some companies, like a Starbucks, like an Uber, for upskilling to actually earn degrees through them, but also as a way to push and promote online learning. And I'm wondering if you think that trend's going to accelerate as a result of this, because number one, some universities aren't going to be able to survive. They need to find another revenue source. And then you've got those workers who can't afford to go to universities.
I do think so. I think colleges, we already have seen them become very creative in their outreach to prospective students. You know, on a dime, they basically switched to all virtual events. So whether it was information sessions or tours or sitting in on a virtual class, we've had colleges move to some online degrees, places also, highly selective places offering online certificates, online degrees, partial in residence, partial online degrees. I think we're going to see more of that, not only because of the revenue issue, but also colleges, again, have been forced to move online, and they will develop systems that they feel more comfortable with as a result. It's been an interesting thing that colleges and universities and education more generally has been slower to innovate than we would expect. This may have been, you know, an unfortunate situation, of course, to have caused it, but sort of
Sure.
that they needed.
All right, Bari Norman, thank you so much for being here on Yahoo Finance.